Hello and welcome to another STEM story. So today we're talking to Elina Militello, who is in fusion plasma science, which just sounds cool. I mean, I know maybe 30% of what that involves, but that sounds like an awesome job, Elina.
Yes. No, it's a great job. I mean, what we are trying to do at UK Atomic Energy Authority, where I'm a scientist, is to replicate the processes on the sun and the stars to generate electricity here on Earth, abundant green electricity. So yeah, that was kind of what got me into fusion energy or fusion science
Yeah,
startup.
that was when I learned about that at school, the fact that we make nuclear energy by doing the opposite of what the sun does. It just seemed like, well, why don't we do what the sun does? Because that doesn't run out of energy.
No.
And the answer was because we would blow up the entire Earth. That was my teacher's answer anyway. I imagine it's a bit
Okay.
more complicated than that.
Yeah, no. I mean, to try to do what the sun is doing, it's much more complicated. Requires more refined machinery than doing like conventional nuclear energy.
Yeah.
We are doing experiments, so yes, it's possible, but we are still at the point where we're trying to get more energy out of the process than we are putting energy into the system, so to speak, into all the device and
Yeah.
running the device. So
There
we're
was
not.
wasn't there recently a big breakthrough with that? I remember reading something about it being pretty cool.
Yes, I mean, there has been several breakthroughs. I mean, at the machine that is located at my laboratory, which is called JET, there was some breakthroughs. They did the energy records a year or two back. So for anyone who has Prime, there should be a documentary called Star Makers,
Awesome.
which I recommend. It's really, really great talking about that and the energy record that they did. There was another fusion experiments in the US where they are doing what is called inertial fusion. So what I'm working with is magnetically confined fusion. If you have particles that are electrically charged, they can be confined. They are kind of twirling around magnetic field lines. You can confine them with a magnetic field.
Okay.
They are in the US. They're doing that, but the record that was talked about was when they are having like small pellets of fuel. And they are bombarding it from all different sides with lasers to compress it, and that creates a fusion reaction. And they managed to get more energy out than they put in, I think. So they broke that threshold.
Perfect. So it sounds like we're definitely going in the right direction, which means that we have the potential for it to work.
Absolutely.
Oh, that must be fun. That must be cool.
Yes.
I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be doing a job like that. There must be like all sorts of cool tools that you get to play with on a daily basis, but like a fair amount of data that you have to work with, I imagine.
Yes, there is definitely that. There are, terabytes of data to work with. And those doing mostly modeling. So there are models of, so when you heat up a gas, you heat up a material, first you get liquid and gas, and if you heat it up even more, then you get what is called the plasma. So it's a charged gas, so it's gas consisting of charged particles. So we have a huge devices or medium-sized devices that are confining this plasma with magnetic fields. And to understand what's going on in better details, we also do computer models of it. So I'm working mostly with computer models, trying to understand what's going on and how we can keep the plasma together for longer, or all kinds of different aspects, how much we have to heat it to get fusion reactions and these kind of things.
Oh my goodness. So it sounds like at the minute it's a fair amount of energy in to get the energy out. It must be quite an expensive practice at the moment.
At the moment, yes. Like all basic research, basically.
Yeah. But heading towards, I mean, that's at a certain point, a computer was an entire building and now it fits in my back pocket. So Yeah, this is where we're starting from.
Exactly. Progress, definitely. And we've had progress over the last couple of decades as well. So things are just moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, even with our current nuclear energy, like you said, it's all about finding greener, better energy resources. And nuclear energy provides a lot more for a lot less than like coal and oil resources, doesn't it? So
Yes, absolutely. And it's very, very safe. That's something people don't really realize, that nuclear energy is as safe from an energy production point of view as solar or wind, or even less dangerous. So
yeah. I mean, so solar power, tidal energy, wind power is kind of put on a pedestal as like green energy, and it is green energy, but we have to then
yes.
make solar panels and wind turbines and put big words put big panels under the ocean to kind of harness the energy of the waves. That's not very green.
No, and it takes up a large amount of land space. A nuclear reactor you can have in a very small confined space as well. So you don't need to have all these fields full of solar panels. And also to remember about solar panels and wind turbines, etc. They have a certain lifetime, and after that you need to recycle them, and it's not that easy.
Are they very recyclable? I can't imagine they are. That
I'm not quite sure. They are not very
yeah,
recyclable now, but I know that they are trying their best
yeah,
to do
yeah.
what they can.
Yeah, not here to slander green energy resources, but yeah, there's not as much of a wide scope of difference between them. I think that nuclear energy got famous for the nuclear energy disasters, whereas at the same time as we've had these disasters, which were horrific, um,
Yeah.
we've had a lot of good things from it. It's provided a significant amount of green energy and in a much more clean and efficient way than what we had previously been using for many decades.
Yes. And I think that's something people forget as well. I mean, yes, we had these huge disasters with nuclear energy, but at the same time, fossil fuels are killing like 7 to 8 million people a year.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But it's not like this big disaster thing that you can blow up in the news, so people don't talk as much about it.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea the numbers were that high. Is that linked to like ongoing kind of pollution and things like that?
Ongoing pollution, etc. People getting, yeah, it's like illnesses that are building up on a very long time scale
Yeah. Oh wow.
and
Goodness.
decreasing lifespans, etc. So yes.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, there's lots more factors involved. I think this is a lot of the time the things in science. There's so many things in science there's the this is what we've always done standard, and that seems to hold a lot more weight than it should do.
Yes.
This is what we've always done
Yeah,
doesn't mean that it's a good idea.
exactly. Sometimes you have to review and see if there's anything better out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why it's so important that we have all the renewable energy sources mixed with nuclear, hopefully with fusion energy, the kind of energy I'm working with, coming up at the end of the century, basically.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, perfect.
so all of these can just work together for a better environment.
Yeah. So you were describing the kind of the initial generator for that ongoing propagation that requires a lot of energy input. Where does that energy currently come from?
It comes from the national grid.
Okay, so
So
it's
we just
whatever electricity supply is. Yeah,
yeah, what's
but
available.
an insane amount of it.
Yes, quite a lot of it, yes.
Your electricity bills must be painful.
That's one of the bigger things that we pay our bills, yes.
Yeah, but it must be so interesting to see the outputs. Like, is it kind of I mean, from my perspective, I look at these things and I think that is super cool. And I'm picturing this super cool science lab where you're just doing super cool things every day. But there must be a lot of like just day-to-day stuff. Like this is a very normal day at the desk. What does your actual job tend to look like?
Yes, as you said, I mean, since I'm doing computer modeling, I'm basically sitting at my desk every day. So yeah, we have the big the tokamaks that we call our machines. They are in the separate buildings, etc. I don't get to see them very much.
Okay.
I rarely go to the control room where all the actions is happening, where when the experiments are taking place. So yeah, for me, it's I sometimes I forget what I'm doing, the excitement of it, because I'm just sitting at my desk doing my things.
Yeah.
And it's nice to talk to other people and be reminded of how special it really is.
Yeah. I mean, it's science that's going to change the world. It's awesome. This is going to be for as long as people have been around, we have been getting our energy from burning things, and that has
Yeah,
an impact. And the more people there are, and the more things we burn, the more impact it has. So yeah, as soon as we can move away from that, it's going to completely change the world that we live in. It's awesome.
absolutely. And we need more energy,
Yeah.
not only because we get more and more people, but people want to have a better life and a better living standards, which requires more energy. So we really need to amp up our electricity production
Yeah.
to meet that.
Oh, cool. I love it. This is like, it's really exciting personally for me to be hearing about someone that's actually doing that science that when I learned about it at school, I thought, that is super cool. I want to know how that works. But actually doing it, I love it.
Yeah.
So when you were at school, what kind of subjects did you enjoy? What was your favorite thing to learn about?
I enjoyed doing maths. I enjoyed
Yeah.
the science subjects in general, physics in particular, I think.
Yeah.
So yes.
Awesome. I love it when people tell me this because I teach maths and sciences to students, and I think the only thing I can think is this where you can't actually, like, physics is the one where you can least see what actually happens, and so much of it just feels like theory because a lot of the time when you're working in physics it's theory for a long time until you can build an experiment that tests it. Students just feel like we're making stuff up. But it's really cool when you actually see how it works and you don't have to sit an exam at the end of it. It's really
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah, going to the science museum and where you can actually tinker with things and see things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
Cause,
there is a lot of it that is kind of just inherent awareness that we have. By the time that someone gets to like teenage years, they are aware that if they leave something hanging off a desk too far, it's going to fall off, and there's going to be a specific point where it will do that, and they'll be aware that if they leave their light on, it's going to get hot, and
yeah.
they probably shouldn't have things touching it. There's a certain amount of physics that they're aware of. It's just applying some maths to it that happens in lessons.
Yes, no, I fully agree. I mean, I'm doing STEM outreach sessions in primary schools,
Hmm.
and I'm always trying to remind them that they actually know a lot of physics, as you say. They know that if they jump on a trampoline, they will shoot up in the air, for example. If they lean forward when they go on their bike, they will go faster.
Yeah.
Uh, but they might not know because it's of wind resistance, air resistance, and this kind of things, but they
Hmm.
know it inherently, as you say.
Yeah. And that's the sort of stuff that I find interesting just in anything. As soon as you try and teach something to somebody else, you have to really think about why it works the way that it does. And it suddenly gets so much more fascinating.
Yes, yeah, I fully agree.
Yeah, I guess that might not be a universal thing, but it feels pretty universal in my world because everybody I know is really into this. Cool. So it sounds like this has always been something that you've enjoyed. Maths and physics is pretty much your job description now, isn't
Yes, it is definitely.
it?
I'm doing other stuff as well. I'm a line manager and project manager, so I'm not doing a lot of physics myself these days,
Yeah.
but I'm still involved in it, and I enjoy making other people grow and have a good careers.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole other skill in itself. managing people is a challenge.
It requires, yeah, as you said, it's a different, but it's still problem solving.
Yeah.
Which is something I always enjoyed as well, solving problems, observing what's going on and solving problems. And yeah.
Yeah. I love it. So think about people as particles.
Yes.
Pretty much are.
Yeah. Interactions between different,
Yeah.
It's not physical interactions always, but yeah, it's interactions on different levels and how you, optimize it and get the best out of yourself and others.
I love it. I've definitely minimized the whole experience by just suggesting that these people are bouncing off of each other in the office. I imagine it's not that simple. This is a rare opportunity for me to have someone who is enthusiastic about maths and physics, because I always have these conversations with students, and I know where it comes from because it's horrible to have to sit an exam at the end of your learning journey. Takes the joy out of it a lot. But I get asked a lot, why do I need to know maths and physics? So from your perspective, what makes them worth studying?
It helps you to think logically.
Yeah.
And to be able to think in a logical way will always help you with whatever kind of problem that you are faced with, being able to recognize the facts, how they work together, and how to logically come to a conclusion about what decision to make.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that maths give you. It gives you like a structure when it comes to your thinking.
Yeah, I like that. This is what I love with much as I hate the fact that students have to sit exams at the end of their learning, and I get why, but it definitely could be a lot better than it currently is. The the problem solving element of it, when you're presented with a question that's multiple steps to solve, you know that there's things that you're going to have to work out from the information that you have available, and you know, because it's prepared for an exam, that it's possible to solve, which is probably not always the case with problems that you're presented with. So
No.
just look at what information do you have and what can you do with that information.
Yes.
It's a simpler version, I imagine, of what you have to do now.
Yeah, but it's the same basis, yes.
Yeah.
It just, when you learn more and get more information, you just make more complicated problems, and you can solve more complicated problems.
Yeah.
So you just need to start somewhere to be able to build up to where you can be like a physicist or a scientist in general,
Yeah.
or an engineer, I don't know.
Yeah. I know we joke about like kind of comparing your team that you're managing to particles, and but do you find yourself like applying that sort of mindset, those problem solving skills, those thought processes to other things in your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think quite logical about most things.
Yeah.
And as I said, I like observing. Observing is a big thing in physics or in science as well. You observe what's going on and you try to make conclusions out of it. So it's kind of universal skills that you can apply in everyday life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I find myself, I ask a lot of questions about stuff, which is probably good for a job like this, but I'll just ask a lot of questions. I'll be trying to create a picture in my mind when someone's telling me about something, and it will just be, I'll sometimes realize that I'm probably asking more questions than this person was expecting. Like it could easily just be, I'm in Tesco or something, and I'm like, but why does this like this? And what's going on like this? I think once you start that curiosity, it's everywhere.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, being a scientist, having this curiosity is kind of what's driving you forward. You want to know, why does it do like that? What happens, and what happens if I do this? And yeah.
Yeah. And this is so I've been saying this with some other people on like research jobs, that there's like, it's not like you're following a method that somebody else has given you. You're inventing new methods. You're trying things that people haven't done before, and you don't necessarily know where all of the parameters are on what the kind of ongoing impacts might be. So there must be loads of variables that you have to consider when you're designing your experiments.
Yeah, and absolutely. And in principle, we don't quite know if it's going to work even. I mean, we build on past experience. We know this is quite likely to work because of this and that we have observed before, but we don't know exactly that this is going to work. So there's always this kind of iterative process as well to make things better. If it fails, why does it fail? What do we learn from that? Because that can be very important learning experiences as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's potentially a bit of a random question that you might not be able to answer, but this is a sort of research field that's been going on for quite a long time, hasn't it? And it sounds like, you know, very expensively and only very rarely giving you something positive back. How do large projects like that get funded? There must be other things that have to more easier things that have to fund it.
Yeah, I mean, usually these kind of projects are state funded.
Okay.
Through research councils, etc. So it's not, it's very rarely that you get some kind of private money.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, right now, fusion energy is quite popular and in fashion, and there are small companies, startups popping out left and right with their own ideas of how to solve the problem, and they get a lot of money, investors investing in them. So yes.
Yeah. I mean, that sounds really cool, but then I guess it would be much easier to solve the problem if there weren't 20 people working independently and there was just one place they were all collaborating.
Yeah. So that's kind of part of the UK Atomic Energy Authority as well, as since we are government funded, to try to help all these companies.
Okay.
To try to grow the sector as well. And
yeah,
I mean, they have plenty of ideas. As I said, not all ideas might work in the end.
Yeah.
But the more people we are working to try to solve the fusion energy problem and try to get fusion energy on the grid, the sooner we will find a solution.
It's so cool. It sounds like I mean, it has been going on for a long while, but it's really promising. The fact that we've got past the benchmark of more energy out than energy in is a massive leap. That,
yes.
I mean, sounds so simple, but so much must have gone into it.
Oh, yes, it certainly did. I mean, that's not the kind of fusion energy I'm working on. As I said, we are still struggling to get to the break-even point.
Yeah.
So there is a big project, international project being built in France called ITER, which is going to address this. It's still quite a few years away before it starts up, but no, I'm really excited about that project. I was there visiting just last week.
Oh, cool.
And I saw it being constructed, and that was like a huge thing for me because I've been hearing about ITER since I started my PhD and all that. And there it kind of was being built for real. And and it's just massive.
Awesome. Yeah, it must be so exciting. And at the point where we're not that far off of it. I feel like these are the sorts of things that are going to happen in my lifetime. For the point where we actually have this energy available, it's going to be amazing.
Yes. No, as I said, I mean, we're probably realistically by the end of this century.
Yeah. Okay. Start your clocks. It's a good while still. I might make it.
Yeah. There are others that are more optimistic and have more ambitious plan, but I think from my perspective, it's more.
Yeah. That's a sort of I worked in pharmaceutical research for a long time, and that's the sort of thing that it's like 10 to 15 years from start to finish of a project, and they talk about how that takes a long time. I mean, that just feels pathetic.
Yeah, you have to have a bit more patience in fusion energy, that's for sure.
Yeah. But certainly well worth it.
Yes, no, absolutely, definitely well worth it. And even if there are long time scales, you can see the progress being made and you are doing progress. So you feel you're getting forward anyway.
I love it. You must have loads of other things that get discovered on the way, kind of accidental or side discoveries that you make in the world of physics as you're working on this problem.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I'm not aware. I mean, what we are more doing is like technology advancements.
Yeah.
So there are kind of spin-offs from that.
Yeah. so many of the things that we use now were accidentally discovered, or they were supposed to be something else, and then they ended up being what we actually use.
Yes.
I love it. This is how science works. I wonder what happens if we, oh, look at that. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not to downplay it, scientists are very clever people, but they're not always doing things entirely intentionally.
No, no, I mean, that's nice as well. I mean, you because sometimes you are not able to think outside of the box
Mm.
enough to discover this in the structured way,
Yeah.
and then having these accidents happen that kind of just propel science. That's, I mean,
Mm.
fantastic.
It is the unexpected. I mean, there was a fair amount of scientific discovery came out of the global pandemic. It's not that anyone planned for that, but the fact that for that period of time, everybody had the same goal.
Yes.
Everything else kind of stopped. We were able
Yeah,
to make quite a lot of advancements. There was a lot less. It didn't take long before people started getting competitive about it again, of course. But you see what difference it makes when everyone's working in the same direction.
absolutely. You pool your resources and you work in the same direction towards a common goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's why I like team working as well.
Yeah.
Because yeah, you get the team together, they have different competencies, and you just pull them together and you get something bigger than the parts, and you kind of propel your science forward.
Love it. I'm very excited. I mean, I'm certainly not going to be sitting here with bated breath for the next 70 odd years, but I am very excited to see what comes next. Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that, Elina. I mean, that sounds like such an awesome field to be working in. Just
No, absolutely, I can definitely recommend it for anyone. And right now it's a good time to start working in fusion as well, with all the investments that are going on. And yeah, I mean, there's, as I said, there is the machine being built, the international machine being built in France, and there is UKA is working on this reactor device as well called STEP.
yeah.
So there's a lot of work going into that to design it, and which should be built by and operating by 2040, I think is the aim. So
So it's not a simple machine.
it's not a simple machine. And I mean, of course, I mean, this is not, you don't pick up the shelves,
No.
pick up the pieces on the shelf somewhere. Everything is kind of custom made and specially made and put together by hand. And yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely not a flat pack machine. That sounds
no,
amazing.
definitely not. No.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'd recommend, so if people are interested in learning more about this, can they have a look at oh, there we go, the government's UK Atomic Energy Authority. They have a website.
Yes,
They
they
have a
do.
careers website. There's all
Yeah,
sorts of things to go and have a look at. But
absolutely. And there are plenty of YouTube videos probably on the website, or if you just go on YouTube as well and look for UKAEA, you will find all kind of videos describing the different parts of physics. People were talking about what they are doing, and
yeah. We've got some presentations from the Royal Institution and all sorts of things. So I'm going to share some links and show notes. If you're watching this video or listen to the audio, you can go and have a look on the app and read a bit more about it. I mean, I struggled with physics at school myself. I found it very challenging not being able to actually see what's happening, but nuclear fission and nuclear fusion were the things that really triggered my brain to excited. So I definitely recommend going and having a look at these things.
the two things that you can definitely not see.
Yeah.
I find it a bit, yeah.
Yeah. This is how my brain works. It's not entirely logical.
No,
Perfect.
so
Thank you
yeah,
very much.
you're welcome. It's been a pleasure to be here talking to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm your podcast host, Georgina Green, and the founder of Green Tutors, STEM Specialist Tuition Company. We've been supporting students with their GCSE and A-level maths, science and STEM subject studies since 2011, and our team all work and have a passion for STEM professions such as engineering and chemical synthesis and medicines and all sorts of fantastic things in the world of STEM beyond the curriculum, which is what we bring into our lessons to make them more exciting, and the reason I wanted to share this podcast with you all. Alongside that, we've launched the STEM Educators Academy, where other STEM professionals and STEM education enthusiasts can come and learn about how to grow their STEM education practices together. If you're interested in any of the support that we offer, get in touch at greentutors.uk and you can access some of the free resources on there as well.
This podcast would not exist without the sponsorship of STEMazing. I'm very grateful to STEMazing, not only for sponsoring our podcast, but for the brilliant work that they're doing, fostering inspiration and inclusion in STEM. I recommend having a look at their website, stemazing.co.uk, which is what you can see right now, to see a bit more about the work that they do. Alongside the award-winning Inspiration Academy, bringing events into primary schools and inspiring young people to see their future in STEM, because you can't be what you can't see. There's a fantastic membership, which I'm a part of, for women in STEM to do more of this, fostering inspiration and inclusion in STEM, with monthly content shared on empowerment, inspiration and community, will help you to be a better role model and mentor to people in STEM. And finally, there's a brilliant library here of role models in STEM that you can go and have a look at and hear more about their STEM stories. Here's a shout out for our sponsor, Navigated Tutor. If you haven't seen this, I recommend having a look. If you're in education, the Navigated Tutor platform gives access to a quarterly webinar and magazine and training resources. The first one I've already read and attended, and in minutes learned lots that's going to make a massive impact on the way that I support my students. This is brought to you by Arthur Moore, who is not only a fantastic tutor but also the host of the Tea and Teaching podcast and Tutoring Tips podcast, two of my most listened podcasts. So I recommend that you go and check those out if you're working in education at all, and sign yourself up to the Navigated Tutor platform for some fantastic CPD. You can get access to this at mooreedu.thinkific.com. That's mooreedu.thinkific.com.